Hello my lovings, and welcome back to another Fast video where we're going to be talking about the rating system, particularly the Goodreads rating system. Now I've seen this pop up on BookTube for a while now, and I figured I would tackle it. Mostly importantly, just so I can say, oh, here's my video to go talk about my rating system. So when people comment, oh, why did you rate this book this but not this book? I have reasons, and I'm just going to go through them. We're going to start with simply, I rate them in, the 5-star range. Right now, I'm really hating the 5-star range, as I don't think there's enough here. As, if you're on my movie channel, if you go and you follow my Week in Movie Bros, which is going to be linked down below if you're curious is following in that. I post there almost every day with new content, me and my brother do, as it's called the Week in Movie Bros. But we do A through F grade system over there, as I'm liking that grading system better. And in my bullet journal, I even grade the books through A through F and not through a rating of 5-star system. But Goodreads system is through a 5-star system, and so I rate them accordingly. And so personally, like for instance, if I don't rate a book, it's normally because it's a book that's not aimed towards me. And I'm not talking about like a nonfiction book that's like dense and horrible. Probably wouldn't rate it, but I'm not talking about that type of book. I am personally talking about a book that is not cornered for me. For instance, in my last wrap-up, or whenever this video is up, maybe 2 wrap-ups ago, or in every wrap-up going forward, because I read to my little sister like every night, so we have like a lot of books I could put on my Goodreads list. I don't rate those, because it's not about my entertainment, it's about her entertainment, and I could rate it through her eyes and be like, oh, this is like perfect for a 5-year-old. Let's rate it 3 stars, because that's how much she enjoyed it. Like, I could do that, but I don't really find any good things about that, and so I don't rate books like that. Some other books I don't rate is if they deal with very, very touchy subjects, such as sexual assault or anything like that, and it's not in a fictionalized manner. I mean, if it's a true life story of memoirs of people dealing with really, really rough shit, I don't want to rate you, because I feel like that's wrong. Memoirs and period, rating memoirs is wrong. But we're going to get into why I also don't think rating memoirs is wrong. One, you're putting yourself out there to be judged. I don't want to judge you. It's a problem. But also, I did rate a book. So, and also, like, the line between what is a memoir and what counts as a memoir and what doesn't count as a memoir, I think is very, very thin. Because there's books that are poems and they're about someone's life, but they're also about vagueness. And so I think if there's vagueness in there that's not so much factual information, then I feel like, yeah. But like Lily Collins' essays, I probably shouldn't have rated 5 stars. I probably shouldn't have rated it at all. It's all a mixture of things. But if it deals with like if I read a book all about sexual assault, for instance, and it was all tellings of somebody that it happened to, I don't want to judge them, and I don't want to rate their essays or whatever they wrote for this, because that seems very insensitive to me, and so I'm not going to rate them on Goodreads. But those are basically all the books I don't normally rate. Also, any nonfiction I don't normally rate either. As nonfiction, I don't really see as an enjoyable thing, as it is more of a learning aspect, and learning aspects of books, unless they're like books filled with, short stories or classic fairy tales or anything like that. I do rate those, as I was supposed to get entertainment out of that, as well as learning from great writers. But as books such as, like, if I rate my math book, or, I'm rating the science book on photosynthesis, I don't know, pulled something out of my brain here. I wouldn't rate those in particular, just because of the subject matter. I'm not supposed to be enjoying myself while reading these. If you enjoy science, please give me your brain, because I wish I enjoyed science, like, seriously. But I don't enjoy science, and so I wouldn't want to rate that. A book about anatomy, I might want to rate 5 stars, because I'm enjoying that. But a book about plants, I'm not going to enjoy. I just know for a fact. And I don't feel like criticizing somebody, unless it's actual, like, fake data, then maybe I would give it, like, a 1 star. But then again, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably post in the review, hey, this is all, don't rate it. You know what I mean? So moving up to 1 stars. 1 stars I give very often. It has to be a truly disgusting or awful or decrepit book. Now, when I mean disgusting, I mean there are certain lines that I don't like reading. There are certain lines I don't like crossing as a writer. I do tend to cross them. And so I tend to rate those books a lot harsher than I would normally. books dealing with, once again, really, really violent things happening to people, and it's not handled properly, it's more than likely getting rated a lower star. A contemporary novel, probably not getting a 5 out of me, just because of my enjoyment level. I do rate off enjoyment level, mostly also how the writer itself handles the material, because I think both things are aspects here as, now for instance, if I do listen to it as an audiobook, it's kind of harder as I just rate off of enjoyment level and not, like, you know what I mean? Not off of the author, because I'm listening to it, and so I'm not reading it, and so my brain's not picking up on how, like, I think the author should portray it. Like, there's, for instance, Cinder by Marissa Meyer, I probably would not have enjoyed if I didn't listen to them all. But I did listen to them all, and they are all absolutely beautiful, and I highly recommend that series. On audiobook, Harry Potter, I tried reading for years, could not read. The audiobooks are, like, the best thing ever created, and I highly recommend them all in audiobook. Not done with the series yet, but you know what I mean. A book that I'm going to bring up and mention right now is The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty by Anne Rice. And I mentioned this for the 1-star rating because it was a recent 1-star rating. And I gave it 1 star because I really, really hated it. I thought the depictions in here are very crude and strong, and I'm okay with a very smutty, very graphic book. I have no problems with that whatsoever, as you guys are going to see. When I rated, like, 50 Shades of Grey, I gave it, like, 4.5 stars. Now, if I did a reread, it wouldn't be 4.5 stars anymore. But, for instance, one of my favorite books of all time is After, and has some of the worst grammar in it. So, like, this wasn't based off of the writing by Anne Rice, since Anne Rice is an amazing writer. It is so much based off the story inside that is so bad. And there is no story, and there is no plot. And I think that all has factors here. Is that, one, if I don't care for your character, I didn't for any of these characters, yeah, I'm just not going to rate you well, and so that's my example of, like, a 1-star rating. Now, a 2-star rating, it means I did enjoy it, to a point, but I also had major faults with it, where I couldn't find myself in a good grounding. I'm trying to think of a good one. Ooh, a perfect one. A Simple Favor by, hold on, let's see here. Do I have something? I have a lot of 0 stars, because, you know. I gave 2 stars to talk about 2-star. Oh, okay, we're just going to talk about A Simple Favor, and then we also might mention another book that's really popular as well. And that is by Darcy Bell. It was a movie that came out last year with Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. I read the book because of the movie. Also, my sister read it first, and she said it was, like, one of the best thrillers she's ever read. And I think thrillers I do rate kind of harshly, as well as I read a lot now. A new to me thriller, like a debut or whatever, I think maybe I would handle a little differently. This was a debut offer. I just think it was really cliched and different things like that. And so it was an okay written book with an okay written story. I didn't care about the characters, which I don't have to give it a 5-star. But I didn't care about the characters. I didn't really care about what's going on or anything. I just listened to it to listen to it. And so the entertainment level gave it a 2. A book that I did really care about, and I really did care about the characters that I felt was very unjust that happened to them, was, like, Allegiant by Veronica Roth. Most people rated this one 1 star. I gave it a 2-star because I personally just, it's just annoying in a way. You know, it's like one of those books that you just read and you're just, like, annoyed through, like, most of it. But as a writer standpoint, I got so much goodness out of it. So it's, like, a different, like, an entertainment level. It's like, this is the worst one out of the whole series, but that's, like, my examples of, like, a 2-star. I also, another mention of a 2-star rating, since I just see it right here, is Because You Love to Hate Me, 13 Tales of Villainy, by a whole bunch of different authors and booktubers. I didn't like that one either, because personally I didn't like any of the stories in it, but the booktubers things I thought were really interesting or something like that. So, like, part of me feels like, you know, we're at that stage again of where it's like entertainment levels, and once again, you know, that's kind of where the 2-star lands. So moving on to a good 3-star. A 3-star is just literally average. I mean, I don't really have problems with 3 stars. I think 3 stars are exactly what they're supposed to be. They're good books that I would recommend if I was making a recommendation video or anything like that. They're books that I enjoyed, but I also had problems with, you know, in a way that it didn't live up to my expectations, or that I didn't think it was good enough. For instance, You by Caroline Kepnes. Another thriller, sorry I keep using them, but it's just books that pop out of my head. I also read this year, so it's kind of fresh in my mind and why I rated it. Another one I gave 3 stars, and I gave it 3 stars simply because I enjoyed it, but it was also a disappointment. Not enough of a disappointment to rate it anything lower, but enough that I was like, okay, I'm kind of like over it. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what my 3-star runs through. I do have like many books that are sequels or anything like that tend to get a 3-star from me. I have very few sequels that are not 3-star, or books I read when I was younger that I really enjoyed and I gone back and I reread. Those tend to get a 3-star. I don't ever normally rate a reread younger, like lower than that, but some of them do. Classics, I have a lot of classics that a lot of people think are like the best books ever, rated between a 1 and 2-star, as I don't really enjoy classics that much. And so I think here we go. It's just like, it's just, yeah, that type of thing, where it's all about entertainment wise. But for instance, a book I did give 3 stars, and we just talked about memoirs and how I don't really normally rate them, was Boy Erase, a memoir. I read this because I watched the movie, and I was really curious about the book. I read the book before I saw the movie, but and it's based off his life in a conversion therapy facility, and it was just really hard to read, and so I did DNF it, and then I read it again, then I did finish it, and overall I thought it was okay, but I don't know. These are like memoirs. I want to go searching through my books and unrate, as I don't think we should rate those. As I come to more fruition as I get older, I really start to realize how much I don't like rating things that are based off people's lives. Moving on to 4 stars. 4 stars are almost absolutely perfect books to me, and I honestly mean this from like an entertainment state level, is like 4 stars can be any type of book. I don't care what you are, if you're a graphic novel or anything like that. If you brought a smile to my face, or you made me cry, you had me show emotion, you made me care enough about the characters that I really anticipated what was going to happen, page turners, anything like that that really got me like really juiced up and really excited to read you again. Anything, things I want to go back and revisit. Those all tend to get a 4-star read for me, and that's simply because I just enjoyed them so much that like it was amazing, and you just love yourself for like reading them, and you just it's just a really good feeling, and you think back on those memories about reading those books, and you're just like, that was a good memory. I'm so happy I read that book. That's like a 4-star to me. It's almost perfect. It's not so perfect because you can see the faults in the lines, such as like Beautiful Disaster by Jamie McGuire. I will never reread it again because I'm nervous now because I read another one of her books and I thought her writing was absolute trash. Sorry, Jamie McGuire. Still love you to death. But I gave that 4 stars the first and second time I reread it. The third time I reread it, I also gave it 4 stars. And it's not really about a 4-star. The relationship is extremely toxic, and I can realize that, and there's a lot of problems with it. Some of the writing's kind of bad, like I said. But my enjoyment level for it was like a 10 out of 10, and so it got a 4-star, but I could see that it doesn't deserve a perfect score, so there we go. With that, for 5 stars, I think 5 stars are exactly what they're supposed to be. They're such enjoyable books that I just cannot put them down. I love them, and I read them so often. Well, I mean, I want to read them as often as possible, and only quite a few different books get 5 stars out of me. There's not a lot out there. A lot of graphic novels tend to get 5 stars, as I do enjoy myself a little bit more through a graphic novel standpoint. If I'm really in love with an author, a lot of their books, when I start reading them, get 5 stars. Due to the simple fact that I'm in love with them. It's not until a reread that I tend to lower those ratings. I'm kind of biased in that way. Just trying to give you examples. Ellen Hopkins, almost every one of her books that I read in the first year that I read her books, and I read like 7 of them back to back, they were all 5-star reads. I've read a few now, and they're like 2 or 3-star reads. If that has any clearing of how much I enjoy Ellen Hopkins anymore, and which people can come down to like, it was just okay. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like one of those things that I just love, and most of my best books do come from a 5-star rating. I don't rate a lot of books 5 stars in 1 year. They pick up over the years and different things like that. Like last year, I think I had 10 or something like that out of 107. They're very rare. They're in the selection, but it's very rare to find a 5-star read. It's very rare to find a 5-star novel. I should be more specific here, as I do think third acts are really hard to write personally and to read. That's from a standpoint from any type of things. The end of a TV show is really hard to watch because it's ending, but also it's normally not super great. The end of a movie, not super great. The end of a book, not super great. Some people are excellent with third acts, but I tend to not be able to get through those books because the first two sections are just okay, and things like that. But also, I can read a book that I didn't really enjoy as much, but also give it a 5-star rating. One, because the writing is so beautiful, or something like that. An example of this is Call Me by Your Name by Andre Akin, one of my favorite books of all time. I didn't really personally enjoy it though, and I mean that in a way because, like, I read it. It took me like 2 weeks to read, or it's like 11 days to read, and it's all practically just a whole bunch of paragraphs describing things, not a lot of dialogue, not a lot to keep you going, but it was so beautifully well written, all these other things, that I'm really, really excited to read in there, Andre Akim, or anything like that. I know I'm pronouncing the name wrong, but I'm just really, really excited, and so things like that. Things that hold really well to my heart, such as Buffy the Vampire Slayers, tend to get a higher rating, and then, yeah, I think that covers my whole rating scale. So I don't rate books because they're memoirs or children's books or anything like that. Books I don't think I should rate. 1 stars are books I truly hated. 2-star books are books I was more likely I'm more disappointed with a 2-star than I hate a 2-star, if that makes sense. 3-star is average, it's okay, kind of recommend. 4-star, I would definitely recommend to you in a video or recommend you like in a comment or something like that. But probably not going to be picking up anytime soon. It was really, really good. I enjoyed my time. I had good thoughts about it. 5 stars are practically perfect books in my head. I wouldn't change a single word inside that novel. And yeah, and I'm pretty excited about that. But guys, that is my rating system. I hope it wasn't super confusing. If it is, I can always maybe comment it down below, maybe pin it or something. But this video is where I'm going to recommend people to go to. So let me know in the comments down below if my rating system is anywhere near yours. And would you want to rate your books more like a grading level? Since I think giving a 3-star a C is wrong. I think it's more like a B-. You know what I mean? Like, what's your rating? What is your grading level compared to star levels? Because I see myself giving more like a 3.5 than a 3. Because I think 3 is too harsh, whereas a 3.5 is like the perfect medium. Same thing with 4 stars. I think 4 stars are like too harsh unless they deserve it. And I'm more towards the 5, but it's not a perfect book, and so I don't give it a 5. Yeah, what is your rating system? Let me know in the comments down below, as I'm extremely curious. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, please maybe a thumbs up. Throw a comment down below. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you all next time for another beautiful video. Bye!